Iron Fist series premiere Snow Gives Way. Now this series of course is the final Defender series. Lately, ever since it's been announced, it's been hit with all the controversy and stuff, and more recently with early access to episodes for certain reviewers, at least for the first half of the season. It hasn't been getting the greatest reviews, although oddly enough a lot of those reviews focus a lot on the controversy, and that seems to be a big reason why it's getting bad reviews. But going into this without any of those issues, for me personally, I like this first episode. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty simple. It's like a first episode where, and I think with it being the final episode, they're trying to kind of kick into it fairly early on, because with a lot of the other shows, it's like, okay, here's this character and here's, another character. So, we get to see glimpses of characters, or we get references. I think everyone's in this. I think we get everyone, maybe not our big bad villains just yet. Of course, there's a certain character, just in case people haven't seen the trailer, there's a certain character that is going to show up later on that we don't see, but I feel like we saw everybody in this. Danny is in here, of course. We get to see his friends, Joy and Ward, who I thought were married. Because I don't really know the character Iron Fist. And even from the beginning of the episode, I just assumed that they were all friends when they were kids. And then Joy and Ward just ended up together after Danny died. But it's like they're actually brother and sister. But we get to see the both of them. And, Joy is seemingly the nice one until we get to the end. And maybe she just never believed him after all the craziness. But, she seems to be the nice one. Ward was like the eternal twat. Like, we see him from, the flashback, and he's mad. It's Monopoly. It's like, come on. But he's talking about rules in Monopoly, and rules are for pussies, and their dad's an absolute a-hole, but he's also probably immortal. Something's going on with that guy, because he died at 41 12 years ago, and of course he looks exactly the same. So either he faked his death, which doesn't matter if he faked it or not, because he looks exactly the same as he did 12 years ago, but he faked his death because of some sort of immortality thing, or something weird is going on. They reference it, and that's like the big thing that's not just put out there in the very beginning. It's like, when Ward's talking with his dad, he's like, it can't be Danny, that's impossible. And his dad is like, stranger things have happened. I'm like, well, clearly he's referring to himself, which is why he's living underground, and him looking exactly the same as he did 12 years ago, which, it's just interesting. Like, all right, where is this headed? Does this have anything to do with that other character that, will come into the series later on? So they showed off pretty much all the characters. We also see Colleen Wig in this as well, and we see her kind of at her dojo and her interaction with Danny, who I really, it was very interesting going through this episode where everyone was kind of just mad at him. So he goes in, and of course it makes sense in the beginning. He just goes in and he breaks into his own company, and they see him and it's like, that's impossible. It's like, you're saying that you're a guy that died over a decade ago, that sort of crazy thing. And it was interesting, and maybe it's just me because I'm open-minded. Kind of like Joy at the end of this episode. I'm like, I feel like, if someone's coming in and they're just like, I want to talk, and they say that, especially when she was like, he kind of looked like Danny, I'd have to see what's going on. Especially when he was in front of the house and he's like, yeah, we're on, this soccer team and stuff. She's like, anyone could look that up, which, as someone who was a super rich kid, in that sense, she's probably right, because, just that sort of information is always put out, in the world. You can always have that sort of information on someone, who's famous, especially, they're the famous child of someone who owns like this super, super, huge company, which seems to be a really big deal, but that's probably because they all died in a crazy, plane crash. Because normally, giant CEOs of big companies, nobody knows who they are except for like Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark, and that's because they're the main characters. In the real world, you don't know a lot of CEOs of really big companies. Like, sometimes you hear about them, most of the time you don't. They're just people that make money, and they aren't actually famous. So in that case, because of the way that they died, that information probably would be out there for him to look up. And of course, Ward was, I don't know, I guess at first I thought he was just, not accepting it because he didn't want it to be true. I don't know, but when he was talking to his dad, he's like, I don't know what his deal is. I'm like, he knows that it's him. Like, he knows that because he mentioned this stuff. Like, that's when he finally got super specific, because I was like, he really should have done that in the beginning of the episode, because I would have been like, I can prove it, this, and this, and just, instantly say some stuff like that you can't just look up. And that's probably how I would have started personally, instead of, just whooping on everybody. But it, that makes it more entertaining for me to watch. But I just loved all the hostility he faced in like the entire episode. And the only person that he didn't face it from was the homeless guy that he ends up kind of befriending in the episode. So I thought that was just very interesting. Like he never caught a break. Like even the stuff with Colleen, he was trying to be like, hey, you know, I could work here and I'll be super cheap and help you out, and that would bring in more people and different lessons and stuff like that. And she was getting mad at him like, don't stop trying to tell me what to do because you're just this random homeless dude. And I don't, you mentioned that you practice somewhere but you don't get real specific about it, and it's a place I've never heard of. So it was just funny how he was kind of making things worse for himself, and then he wasn't doing too great either. He was starting to snap a little because people were getting mad at him. He instantly switched, and I've never known this for the Iron Fist character. I don't know the character too well, but I've seen him in different animated Marvel shows. Mostly the most recent version of Spider-Man. Like in the early seasons, Iron Fist was in there a lot. Iron Fist and Luke Cage were in there, and I never saw that side of him where he was just snapping all the time. Where he's having like these flashbacks, and he's like, "I'm really trying not to just beat everybody right now." But he was doing that a lot in this episode. And he was like flipping out, and the part where he's driving the car and he's about to slam it into the wall, and he looks over at Ward and it's in slow motion. He has like a flashback and stuff, and then he finally turns and he's like, "I'm sorry I did that." I'm freaking out a little bit, and it's just like, man, he's kind of snapping for this dude. The little bit that I do know about his character from all the stuff I've seen, I'm so used to just this calm, centered character where he's just like namaste and all that stuff, and he was flipping out in this episode. I was like, that's actually entertaining to see because it's just kind of funny to see such a difference. And I'm sure that is a part of his character. But I always see the, kind of the mastered version where he's already been this hero for a super long time and he's already mastered his abilities and stuff like that, or at least got some serious amount of control. But it's funny to watch him kind of flip out a little where it just makes him, more entertaining to watch because he's supposed to be this character where he's so calm and so centered, but he was snapping in this episode like, I'm trying to be calm, but you guys are being real agitated, and it's like the bad vibes are getting on me, and I want to just roundhouse you right out a window sometimes. And it was kind of funny watching him go through that. So I'm curious how that'll play out through the rest of the season, and if that'll kind of shift as things continue on and he gets closer to being more the superhero version of Iron Fist. But I thought it was cool. I like this first episode for sure. Looking forward to what we're going to get with the next episode, which seems like we'll get hopefully more flashbacks. And they're doing it kind of in the typical way where it's like, you get glimpses here and there. And it's kind of interesting how they're, because this is something that they've done with all four of the shows actually. And I think this is the one time it's actually been a little bit different where we got the flashbacks from the very beginning. Because Daredevil, all three of the shows, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, kind of all did it in the same way, where it's like, okay, they talk a little bit about this, and they talk with the other characters about their past, but it started with Daredevil, where we don't see, how he gets started until, later in the first season, and it's like, this is when he first began being like a superhero. And with Jessica Jones, with her, it was more flashback based, so I think that one, they kind of split it up a little, but it was definitely once the Purple Man actually came into it, that's when we finally got like those old flashbacks of what was really happening with her. Luke Cage was the exact same thing. It was a full episode devoted. So that seems to be how they do it. And this one switched it up a little where it was like, all right, we at least got glimpses of exactly what happened from the very beginning. And I think a part of that is because with the other characters, they kind of went into it, as far as being superheroes, because like Matt, he started really young learning martial arts, but as far as being the superhero version of himself, it took a long time for them to show that. And then the same was with Luke, like when he first got his actual powers. So with this, I think it'll kind of be a bit more like Daredevil, where we see like the origin pretty early on, because he spent so much time learning to be the Iron Fist, and there's a big thing as to how he becomes that, and I'm curious how that might play out visually. So I think that's why they're doing it closer to Daredevil than, with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, where it was like, yeah, we reference it, but here's that one episode that's all flashback. So I think, it's a little bit closer to how Daredevil did it, where with Madden, plus it started even before he got his powers, before he even went blind. It starts like before he even ends up being blind. So it was just interesting, the way they did it with Daredevil, and it seems like they're kind of going that route. but maybe they'll still do what they did with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, where it's like, all right, here's glimpses and pieces, and then here's the flashback episode. So I still feel like that's how they're going to do it ultimately, because that's how they've done all the other shows. But I feel like I like this a little more because at least it's closer to Daredevil, where it's like, all right, yeah, we eventually get just the solid flashback episode, but we at least get glimpses leading up to that. Like, we'll probably see more stuff like they did in this episode before he had his, before the accident even happened, just his life as a little kid when he was with Joy and Warren and, he's being pissed off over Monopoly. Like, it just didn't make any sense. I don't know. But we'll see how that plays out. Like, he's just, I don't know. Warren, they just were like, let's just have an asshole. Like, that's his character so far. That's all he is. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm excited for this next episode. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about the premiere. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts about it. And I definitely want to know, as far as this first episode goes, how do you guys think it does as far as introducing pretty much all the characters? Like I said, I think that was the biggest thing. Everything else is like, here's a character in episode 2 or episode 3 or something. And I'm sure that'll still happen because there are other characters coming in. But I was like, wow, they threw in, it was like basically 5 characters, boom, right there. And all the characters are the characters you see. Like, if you look at the banner image on Netflix, it's those characters. So like, everyone's in there from the first episode. And we'll see, how things kind of continue on as far as supernatural stuff with Ward and Joy's father. Just survivability of these characters. And of course, Danny being locked up in the asylum. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm assuming that'll end in the next episode, and that's where he first does the actual Iron Fist move, where he like blows the door open. So maybe the next episode is going to be like the full flashback, and then it's like, all right, episode 2 flashback done, and then the rest of it is in the present. So we'll see where it goes. But we'd love to know how you guys feel about the introduction of Iron Fist, whether you know the character or not, how you feel they introduced him and how they did the glimpses and flashbacks and his former interaction with the other characters. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.